Hello everyone, this is Jake from CINECALIBER. Before I begin, I wanted to wish everyone on here a happy Father's Day. As the time of this recording, it is Father's Day. This video is going to be reviewing the first 3 episodes of The Boys Season 4, which is one of my most anticipated shows for the 2024 year. If you guys want to see a more detailed analysis of that, you can click the video in the description below, as it is a video that I had made earlier in the year. So basically, just some history of the show. The show is made by Eric Kripke. For those of you that don't know who Eric Kripke is, he made the very popular show Supernatural. And I never actually watched Supernatural because it's like 16 seasons and it's like serialized. And to me, I feel like serialized shows don't do very well when they go past a certain point. And funny enough, Kripke recently just came out and said that he wished that he had kind of ended Supernatural when he did, and not let it go so far, and that he's not going to be making the same mistake with The Boys, which, just as some news, he has confirmed that season 5 of The Boys will be the final season, which I completely agree with. It'll keep the show on a quality level, and they can do so much with spin-offs. So I'm all for it. I'm a little bit sad, but at the same time, I completely understand. And we're going to kind of just go into a recap of what happened in season 3. And just so everyone knows on here, there will be some spoilers for the reviews. And just if you haven't seen any of the show, this recap will also spoil that as well. So yeah, here we go here. One of the big things that happened at the end of season 3 was one of the main characters, Billy Butcher. He was taking something called Temp V, which was basically a serum that basically gives you superpowers temporarily, and he had taken so much of it that now he basically is going to die. And so basically this kind of leaves him in a pivotal point, because now he only has so much time to be able to complete his goal of annihilating the Supes, who he hates so much. Another character ended off with the season was Starlight. She ended up leaving the 7th to join the Boys, and be with her boyfriend Huey, who they've been kind of on and off throughout the show. But the way that season 3 ended, they kind of ended on a more stable note, so to speak. And speaking of Huey, he also had a very dark arc last season. But he kind of ended up in a way where he started to kind of redeem the actions that he had committed throughout the season. Another character ended up was MM. MM is another member of the Boys, and he was having issues with his daughter's stepfather Todd, because Todd was having his own political affiliations with Homelander. And MM just hates Homelander, so they kind of didn't see eye to eye, which is kind of causing a wedge between him and his daughter, who loves Todd. So, that kind of was a big part of season 3. That kind of goes into season 4. We're going to go into some of the villains here. Homelander, last season, he ended up murdering a civilian, and people were praising it. It's kind of crazy, because it reminded me of like what happened with Donald Trump, when the people were rioting after he left office. But this is a more dramatic scene of that. And he also finally obtained custody of his son Ryan, who has been hiding from him throughout the show. So Homelander kind of ended he pretty much won, if you wanted to say that. Another big character in season 3 was Nadia. She basically has been secretly pulling strings and putting herself into a position of power throughout the show. And now she's basically placed herself to be a candidate for vice presidency through some backroom dealings with Homelander at the end of season 3. And she also obtained a virus from the spin-off show Gen V. Gen V is a very good show. It does connect to season 4. So if you have not seen Gen V, I highly recommend watching that to get the most out of season 4. But yeah, she has this virus. No one really knows about it that I know of, except for her. And basically, yeah, because of everything that she's done, she's become public enemy number 1 for the Boys to go after. And then really just some A-Train and the Deep. They're the only remaining 2 members of the original 7. I really thought A-Train last season had a great arc of redemption, especially with the whole vendetta against him and Blue Hawk, and they just brought out like a new side of him. So I hope they kind of tap into that here, and then also the DP kind of remains the same awkward coward that he's been most known for throughout the show, which is kind of one of the criticisms I have of the show. So I'm kind of hoping that that gets better. And without further ado, that's everything that I wanted to just recap in season 3, and then we're going to go on to episode 1. And here's the plot summary. This plot summary is actually for all the episodes, since I had a hard time finding any kind of decent summaries for them. So, the plot summary: in season 4, the world is on the brink. Victoria Newman is closer than ever to the Oval Office and under the muscly thumb of Homelander, who is consolidating his power. Butcher, with only months to live, has lost Becca's son and his job as the boys' leader. The rest of the team are fed up with his lies. With the stakes higher than ever, they have to find a way to work together and save the world before it's too late. So we're going to talk about what was a hit, the good, with this episode. So really, the first 10-15 minutes are so epic, and they show some really cool character developments. Basically, so the boys in these 10-15 minutes are trying to commit an assassination on Nadia, who again was become their public enemy number 1 after everything she's done to them throughout the show. One of the things I noticed right off the bat, it was kind of weird. Billy was like committing, I guess not committing, but he was like breaking the fourth wall. It seemed like he was just kind of talking to us, but then you kind of find out later on he was having hallucinations, which I'll circle back to. And then we find out too within these 15 minutes that is now the leader of the boys, and he's now being backed by the CIA to basically take out Nadia. They're basically, they want him to basically do their dirty work for the most part. Starlight, again, she's just helping them on this mission, so that was pretty cool, and she kind of has some new powers that she developed in the last season. And then actually, there was a really crazy moment with Nadia's daughter, Zoe. So basically, Nadia last season was giving her daughter Compound V, and we never really saw much of it after that. But there's a scene in this episode where those powers come to light. And let me tell you, the makeup design for like the kills that happened during this scene were excruciatingly epic, and kind of just goes into that crazy, grotesque violence that the boys is known for. It really was like, oh my god, it was like the first big WTF moment. So, but yeah, that was a good part of the episode, I thought. And then kind of I'm gonna go into the antagonists here, like what their story progression was, because I really liked a few things going on there. Homelander, where he's at in this episode, I mean, he's basically has an upcoming murder trial, and he has like a very shaky relationship with his son Ryan. Because they just don't see eye to eye. Homelander is a psychopath, Ryan not so much. So it kind of like, as the episode goes on, it goes through like these various scenes where he's kind of just having some sort of like a midlife crisis, so to speak, and he's just kind of like questioning everything, like what does he exist for, like, and he's just realizing he's just surrounded by imbeciles for the most part. Which kind of goes into like the debut of another character that's going to be big in this season, which is Sister Sage. She's known as the smartest person in the world, and basically Homelander thinks that she's on his level of intellect, and so like he basically, you can tell he's just going to use her to kind of sway the public's favor away from Starlight, as Starlight and him have been quarreling, and there's been riots due to the result of that between the like people supporting Starlight and people supporting Homelander. And yeah, they're like basically Sister Sage, she was kind of like manipulating those riots towards the end of the episode. Like I thought that was it's a really decent sequence that happens there. And then the other thing I want to talk about this episode was good was Nadia. I mean, she's really become a fan favorite villain of mine. She's just such a collected villain. And she's just, more, like, she has it together. Homelander's such a wild card. Like, he's good for his own thing, but she is just so much more sophisticated, kind of like a Lex Luthor style. So I'm really enjoying her arc, and I thought, like, the one scene between her and Huey was, like, outstanding. Like, they had some really great on-screen chemistry. So, yeah, and I just think she's just going to be a huge force to be reckoned with because we find out a little bit more about her powers, how she's kind of invulnerable, so to speak. But yeah. And then really, I want to go back to Billy. I mean, Billy, like I said, he was having hallucinations, and we find out at the end of the episode that he, you know, it's kind of influencing his decision making. And so what I really liked about this episode is that it's kind of like showing a different side of him. Like the development for his character has come so far. So like there was a moment where he could do something very despicable to kind of get what he wants, but he decided to kind of go a different way. And I really thought, and it was a good way. And I really thought that character growth was like outstanding. Like it just kind of shows the consistency that this show has for the most part. So yeah, it was everything that was a hit with this episode. The only thing that I had that was a miss was just kind of A-Train and the Deep. I mean, they're just being utilized as thugs for Homelander, so I'm hoping that we kind of break out of that. Like, the Deep really has just been nothing but weird subplots, and A-Train, he's starting to get a little bit more out there, but they've kind of, I feel like those characters have kind of dwindled. Like, they're kind of the more uninteresting parts of the show, and I'm just hoping that that's not the case moving forward. And then, yeah, we're going to go into the review for episode 2, and we're going to go into what was a hit, the good for that. So really, this episode focuses a lot on the boys' personal struggles, which they kind of glimpsed at in the first episodes, like I was kind of explaining. Like, in this episode, you know, Huey's dealing with his father's stroke, and then the return of his mother, who left him when he was, like, a young boy, so he's having some issues with that. Then we have Frenchie, who I haven't really talked about yet. He has his new relationship with this guy, Colin, which was something, I was like, where are they kind of going with this? But then there's, like, this crazy major reveal of, like, you find out that Frenchie was basically responsible for the death of Colin's family. You're like, whoa, that's kind of dark and kind of weird and typical, but it's like, well, you know, that kind of added a whole depth to that storyline, and I'm glad they did, because I was like, where are they going with this? Then we have Kimiko, who also I haven't really talked about. She has like a reluctance to kind of face her past trauma as a child soldier, so they're kind of tapped into that a little bit. There's some cool subplots. And then really, again, Billy, he's attempting to be honest about his condition. It kind of backfires because they're kind of just fed up with his lies. They kick him out. And, you know, he's just trying to be a better person overall. But, like I said, he's just done so much bad that it's just hard to really get by him anymore, which is a shame. But Carl Urban does a tremendous job playing the character. Then also Starlight, she has like a reluctance to kind of go back to her title being Starlight, but being that it was used for so much bad, but it's kind of like she has to use it to be able to kind of right the wrong for the most part, and I thought that they showed her reluctance with that very well. Some deep character moments there. Then we go to the Vought storyline for this episode. I mean, Sister Sage at this point, she's basically taking all the decision making inside of the company. And then she's kind of looking for a new member of the 7, since they're kind of down. They have 2 more people they have to fill. So she kind of goes after this character called Firecracker. So there's like there's a whole sequence for this, and there's like a crazy action sequence between the boys and Firecracker, and then her partner Splinter, which let me tell you, he was an interesting character. There's some really crazy, grotesque scene. That's all I'll say. So be warned. But yeah, the action sequence with Splinter and the boys when they fought, it was really crazy, grotesque. The makeup design was amazing, and it just flowed so well. But definitely one of the best parts of the episode was that. Again, it keeps kind of chipping at that shaky relationship between Homelander and Ryan. And it kind of takes a turn because Ryan accidentally kills a stuntman during one of their, you know, publicity things that they do. So it's kind of like, oh boy, that's going to add a whole nother layer. I really like that the Deep actually started to kind of stand up for himself in this episode. But it's mostly due to Sister Sage's influence. But he started to just kind of be like, screw you, like, I'm the Deep, I'm worthy, and I like that. I like that because he really has just been such a pansy in pretty much every season so far. And then of course A-Train, he is starting to kind of turn against Vought completely. I mean, he's just dealt with so much abuse by their hands, and he's lost so much with his family. I thought that this episode makes him the most interesting character so far, especially with that particular sequence between him and his family that happens. Kind of makes it kind of heartfelt. And really, that was all that was a hit. We're gonna go into what was a miss now, the bad. The only thing was like I'm kind of like uncertain really about what the end goal is for Black Noir. Yeah, Black Noir I haven't really talked about yet. I mean, they killed him off in season 3, and now he is someone that talks and is still a bit peeved about. And I'm kind of still like peeved about the handling of Noir in the last season. Like they kind of just killed him off, and now they replaced him with someone that can just talk, and I feel like it's just not going anywhere. So yeah, I mean, that was everything that was a hit for me, and that's a miss from you in this episode. Now we're going to go into everything that was a hit. I'm sorry, we're going to go into episode 3 review. Apologies. So, episode 3 review, what was a hit, the good. I really like the continued involvement of Butcher's character when presented with a way to handle Ryan. Again, he's still just trying to do the best that he can. Not trying to be the same old typical Billy, which is just kind of doing the wrong things for the right. And I thought that the chemistry between him and Ryan was very well done. We kind of see in this episode too that there's a reveal of Firecracker's motives of why she hates Starlight so much, and I thought it was a really interesting character choice because it really shows again how Starlight's past is really just continuing to haunt her. Like that theme is kind of just carried out throughout the episodes. It was very well done, and I was just like the tip of the iceberg, so to speak. And then we have there's like a sequence with an ice skating ring. Basically, Anna and Huey, they kind of infiltrate that, and it kind of goes a bit wrong. And let me tell you, it was like a huge suspenseful moment. Like I thought Huey was a goner. Because Homelander was there, he got a whiff of what was happening, and he was like, "Oh no!" And then it was like, "Oh my god!" But luckily, like it ended in a good way. But luckily, this episode 2 pretty much solidifies A-Train as being M's official mole. Again, he's kind of just had it with Vought, but I like that they kind of just solidified his actions now, because he's already done some things to help them in the past, but now he's fully on their side, and I think it's like a huge moment for his character. And then really another big thing, Homelander at the end of this episode has this crazy mental breakdown, because all these events just begin to pile up on him. Like there was data that was leaked revealing some sort of spy within the company. Ryan just doesn't love him as a father, and then there's just the continued fight against the boys. It's just piling up on him, and I just feel like, that he's just gonna crack. I mean, every season he keeps cracking, but this is this guy is off his rocker, and they really they got to figure out how to get rid of him, because he's just going to eventually just destroy the entire world with his psychopathic tendencies. And Anthony Starr just does a great job just portraying the character. And another thing just to add in there, Ashley, who is the actual official CEO of the company, has basically been replaced by Sister Sage. So it kind of shows her being kind of pissed off about that and not knowing what to do. But she's just so stuck with that company because of everything she knows. There's no way out for her, at least so we think. But they kind of show her just kind of being stuck in this whole situation. And that was everything that was a hit for this episode. And then we're going to go into what was a miss, the bad. Really, the only thing that was a miss, I just feel like there was just some storylines that just don't really, they provide some great character depth, but they don't go anywhere. Or I don't see where they're going, basically. I mean, there's still a whole season to go. But still, at the same time, it's like, what are the end goal for these storylines? I'm not seeing it yet, and hopefully, as the show goes on, that'll change. And then we're gonna go into the conclusion for this show. So basically, The Boys season 4 season premiere has gone off to a very promising start, it exploring more political satire, and despite some questionable storylines, the show gives us some tremendous character depth, and which is also polished by the outstanding performances of the characters. The grotesque action sequences and the over-the-top humor continue to also be a spectacle, and I'm excited to see where the rest of the season has in store for us. Basically, by next episode, we're already halfway done with this season, so we're gonna have to see what happens. But so far, the boys is off to a great start. And that's everything I had today. If you guys have anything you would like to discuss, please comment, and of course, like and subscribe to the channel. And again, happy Father's Day to everyone out there. And that is all I have for today. And this is Jake from CINECALIBER.